Imagine opening your eyes, not to the sound of an alarm, but to the ground shaking under the footsteps of a 40-ton sauropod. The air is thick, humid, and carries a scent you've never known. A mix of strange, giant flora and distant volcanic ash. The prehistoric world was a beautiful, brutal, and utterly lethal place. Forget hunting dinosaurs, you would be the one being hunted. From the air you breathe to the water you drink, everything is trying to kill you. Tonight, we're not just looking at history, we're dropping you into it. This is why you wouldn't last a single day. You open your eyes. The first thing you notice isn't a sight, but a smell. A thick, loamy, and almost overpoweringly organic scent of damp earth, of colossal rotting ferns, and of an air so rich and humid it feels like you could chew it. The second thing you notice is the air itself. You take your first breath, and it's a mistake. It's too rich, too potent. The oxygen floods your lungs with a dizzying, light-headed intensity, and for a moment, the world swims before your eyes. You feel a strange and unwelcome surge of energy, a jittery, nervous buzz under your skin. Congratulations. You've just arrived in the Carboniferous period, roughly 300 million years ago, and the very atmosphere is a high-octane fuel waiting for a spark. Forget the romantic notion of pure, clean prehistoric air. The air of the past was a poisonous and volatile brew, and it was rarely, if ever, the gentle 21% oxygen mixture your soft, modern lungs are accustomed to. Here, in this ancient swampy forest, the oxygen level is closer to 35%. This is what allowed the insects to grow to horrifying sizes, a topic we will return to with dread later on. But for you, right now, the immediate danger is not the bugs, it is the fire. In an atmosphere this saturated with oxygen, everything is kindling. The damp green foliage around you is more flammable than dry newspaper in your own time. The air itself feels slick, energetic, and dangerously alive. A storm is gathering on the horizon. The sky a strange, bruised purple. You see a flash of lightning brighter and sharper than any you've ever seen. And when it strikes a distant, colossal tree, the effect is not a simple crackle of fire. It is an explosion, a great and instantaneous whoosh as a fireball erupts, consuming the tree and a dozen of its neighbours in a fraction of a second. The fire doesn't just burn, it detonates. It races through the undergrowth with a terrifying, explosive speed, a shockwave of heat and light that moves faster than a galloping horse. This is the great and terrible secret of a high-oxygen world, the constant looming threat of the global firestorm. There is no containing it. There is no outrunning it. If you are caught in its path, you're simply erased, a brief and frantic puff of carbon in a world that is primed to burn. Now, let the scene shift. The jittery high-energy air vanishes, and it is replaced by something far worse. You're now standing on a dusty, barren plain under a hazy, yellowish sky, near the end of the Permian period. You try to take a deep, satisfying breath, but you can't. The air is thin, heavy, and it offers no relief. Every breath is a shallow, unsatisfying gasp that leaves your lungs aching and your head pounding. The oxygen level here has plummeted to a dangerously low 15%, as thin as the air on a high mountain peak. But it's not just the lack of oxygen that's killing you. The air is thick with the toxic exhalations of a dying planet. Massive, ongoing, volcanic. Eruptions have choked the atmosphere with carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide. The air has a faint, sharp and acrid smell, like burnt matches and sour vinegar. It stings your eyes and burns the back of your throat. Every shallow breath you take feels like an act of self-poisoning. You feel a deep and profound lethargy, a weariness that settles into your very bones. Your muscles feel weak and unresponsive, your thoughts slow and murky. You are slowly and inexorably suffocating, not from a lack of air, but from a lack of the right air. Before any predator finds you, before you even have a chance to search for water, the very atmosphere of this ancient world has declared war on your biology, and it is a war you cannot possibly win. Let's assume you've been miraculously transported to a time with a breathable atmosphere, a nice, comfortable, Mesozoic era. You've survived your first 5 minutes. Don't get comfortable. The climate itself is now your next great and implacable enemy. You're in a hothouse Earth, a world without any polar ice caps. The global average temperature is dramatically higher than your own time, and the world is wrapped in a thick wet blanket of a crushing and relentless humidity. Imagine a jungle, a vast global greenhouse. The air is so thick with moisture that it feels like you're breathing water. You're sweating from the moment you arrive, a constant and useless stream of moisture that your body pours out in a desperate attempt to cool itself. But it's no use. The air is already so saturated that your sweat cannot evaporate. Your clothes, if you had any, would be permanently soaked. A heavy, clinging second skin of mildew and misery. Your skin would never be dry. It would be a constant breeding ground for fungal infections, for rashes, for 1,000 different kinds of microscopic misery. And the weather in this hothouse world is not gentle. With the immense thermal energy in the atmosphere and the vast, unbroken expanses of warm ocean, this is an age of hypercanes. These are not the hurricanes of your time. They are continent-sized storms of almost unimaginable power, with wind speeds that could strip flesh from bone, and a rainfall that is measured not in inches but in feet. You would not be able to take shelter. There is no shelter that could withstand such a force. The very concept of a permanent home is a joke in a world where the weather itself can erase a landscape. But perhaps you prefer the cold. Let us shift again. You are now in the midst of a Pleistocene ice age. The lush, sweltering jungle has vanished, replaced by a vast and endless expanse of white. The air is thin, clean, and so brutally cold that it feels as if it is freezing your lungs with every breath you take. Great blue-white glaciers, mountains of ice that are miles high, grind slowly across the continent, their immense weight crushing the very bedrock beneath them. The world is a place of a deep, profound, and killing cold. You are not prepared for this. Your modern, high-tech winter coat, with its goose down and its synthetic fibres, would be a laughable and pathetic defence against this kind of cold. The wind is a constant and living thing, a razor-sharp and relentless force that finds every tiny gap in your clothing, every exposed piece of skin. The cold here doesn't just sit on your skin, it burrows into your bones. It is a deep and pervasive cold that saps your will, that slows your thoughts, that promises only a final, quiet and frozen sleep. You do not know how to build a proper shelter from the snow and the ice. You do not know how to hunt the great shaggy beasts that are the only source of food in this frozen world. Within a matter of hours you would be a frozen statue, a strange and temporary monument to a creature that was born in a world of gentle and artificial warmth. Even if you manage to survive the air and the climate, the planet itself is still trying to kill you. The prehistoric world was a place of a raw and untamed geological fury. The very ground beneath your feet is an unstable and violent stage. Massive volcanic eruptions, on a scale that is almost beyond our comprehension, were a regular feature of this world. We are not talking about a single, cone-shaped mountain like Vesuvius. We are talking about great flood basalt eruptions, like the Siberian Traps, where vast fissures in the Earth's crust opened up and poured out a sea of molten lava for hundreds of thousands of years, covering entire continents and poisoning the atmosphere with a toxic cocktail of volcanic gases. You would be faced with a sky that is darkened for a generation, with a constant and corrosive acid rain, and with a landscape that has been transformed into a black and glassy sea of volcanic rock. And the Earth itself is more restless. The slow and patient dance of the tectonic plates was once a more violent and chaotic affair. Earthquakes of a magnitude that would shatter our modern cities were a common, everyday occurrence. The very ground you walk on is not solid ground. It is a thin and fragile crust, floating on a sea of fire, and it is a crust that is prone to sudden, violent, and catastrophic failure. And finally, there is the ever-present threat from above. The sky is not a safe and empty space. It is a cosmic shooting gallery, and the Earth is the target. Small asteroid and comet impacts, powerful enough to create a crater a mile wide, and to incinerate everything for 100 miles in every direction, happened with a frequency that would seem like a constant apocalyptic terror to us. You would live with the constant low-grade fear of looking up at the night sky and seeing a new, unfamiliar star, a star that, night after night, grows a little brighter, a little closer, a silent and beautiful harbinger of your own, fiery and inevitable doom. Before you have even had the chance to be startled by a strange prehistoric bird, before you have even felt the first, sharp, pangs of a hunger that you will never satisfy, the planet itself has already tried to suffocate you, to burn you, to freeze you, to poison you, to shake you apart and to crush you from above. You have not yet met a single living creature of this time, and you're already, in a dozen different and inescapable ways, doomed. You have, against all odds, survived your first few hours on this hostile planet. The air hasn't poisoned you, a volcano hasn't buried you in ash, and the climate hasn't flash frozen or boiled you in your own skin. You might even be feeling a flicker of that foolish, modern confidence. You're adaptable, you're intelligent, you're at the top of the food chain. That confidence lasts until you hear a rustle in the giant fern-like trees to your left. You freeze. The sound is sharp, intelligent. It's not the clumsy lumbering of some great stupid beast. It's the sound of something that knows you're there. You hear another rustle to your right, and then you understand. It's not a single hunter. It's a team. Welcome to the Mesozoic era, and you've just met your first raptors. Forget the creatures from the movies. The real Deinonychus, or Utahraptor, is a far more efficient and terrifying killing machine. It's a 6-foot-tall feathered predator, a perfect and horrifying blend of a bird of prey and a wolf. They don't roar. They communicate in a series of low guttural clicks and hisses. You see the first one step out from behind a fern. Its eyes are not the mindless reptilian eyes of a lizard. They're bright, sharp, and they are locked directly onto you with a terrifying analytical focus. It tilts its head, and you see the infamous sickle-shaped claw on its foot lift slowly, deliberately from the damp earth. It's not just a weapon, it's a key, designed to unlock the life from a struggling body. And as you stand there, paralysed by this first sight, the second and the third members of the pack explode from the undergrowth behind you. You don't even have time to scream. The attack is a blur of calculated geometric violence. It is swift, it is silent, and it is absolute. You are not a threat. You are not a challenge. You are simply an opportunity, a strange and slow-moving piece of meat that had wandered into their larder. But let us rewind and give you a different death. Let us place you in the late Jurassic, a world of vast, open, coniferous forests. The air is warm, the danger more direct. You're walking through a grove of colossal trees, feeling a full sense of security in the open space, when you hear a sound like a great tree snapping in two. You turn and you see it, an Allosaurus. It's not as large as a T-Rex, but it is a far more brutal and efficient killer. Its skull is a lightweight framework of bone, a hatchet head built for one purpose, to deliver a devastating, slashing bite. It is not a careful hunter. It is a creature of relentless and furious aggression. Its roar is a wet, guttural and terrifying sound, and it begins to run. And you run too, a pathetic, clumsy and bipedal scramble through the undergrowth. But you are a creature built for endurance, not for speed. The Allosaurus is a sprinter, a 25-foot-long engine of muscle and of teeth that closes the distance with a terrifying and impossible speed. You can hear its great three-toed feet crashing through the ferns behind you. You can feel the ground shake with each of its powerful strides. You risk a glance over your shoulder, and you see its great open maw, its teeth like a row of railroad spikes, and its small, useless-looking arms held close to its body. You trip, as you were always going to, and the last thing you see is the great hatchet head of the Jurassic's most brutal predator descending upon you. But even this is not the ultimate death. For that we must travel to the very end of the Cretaceous, to the kingdom of the Tyrant King. You're standing in a clearing. The ground begins to tremble. It is not an earthquake. It is a footstep. The small, bird-like dinosaurs scatter, a flock of panicked prey. And then the trees at the edge of the clearing begin to part, not bent but broken, snapped like twigs. And the Tyrannosaurus rex emerges. It is a creature that is so far beyond your own scale of existence that your brain almost refuses to process it. It is a 40-foot long, 20-foot tall mountain of muscle, of bone, and of pure predatory power. Its roar is not a sound you hear with your ears. It is a physical force, a concussive blast of sound that hits you in the chest and makes your own small skeleton vibrate. Its tiny two-fingered arms are almost comical, until you realise they are the only non-lethal part of its entire body. Its head is the size of a small car, and its great banana-sized teeth are not for slicing, but for crushing bone. It has the most powerful bite force of any land animal that has ever lived. And its eyes, its deep-set, intelligent and binocular eyes, are now fixed directly upon you. You're not prey. You're a curiosity, a small, soft and interesting-looking morsel. The great beast lowers its head, its breath a hot and foul wind that smells of rotten meat and of the grave. And then it opens its mouth. Let us grant you another escape. You have survived the age of reptiles. The great lizards are gone, the world is now colder, and it is covered in grass and in fur. This is the Cenozoic, the age of mammals. But do not relax. The killing has not stopped. It has only changed its coat. You're now crossing a vast, cold and windswept steppe in North America. You're alone, and you are being watched. You see them first as a flicker of movement on a distant ridge, a pack of large, greyish-brown animals, loping with an easy and tireless gait. They are wolves, but they are not the wolves you know. They are dire wolves Canisterus. They are larger, stockier, and more powerful than any modern wolf, with a bite that is designed to crush the bones of the great megafauna of the Ice Age. And now they have your scent. The hunt begins. It is not a sprint. It is a long, slow, and terrifying test of endurance. You run, and they follow, loping at a steady, unhurried pace, their tongues lolling from their mouths. They do not need to hurry. They have all the time in the world. Your frantic, panicked burst of speed is no match for their endless, efficient stamina. Hours pass. The sun begins to sink. Your lungs are burning, your legs are screaming, and they are still there, a little closer now, fanning out. A silent and perfectly coordinated team of killers, ready to wait until you simply fall from your own pathetic exhaustion. Or perhaps you escape them, only to face a different, more solitary and more powerful hunter. In a rocky outcrop in the cold lands of Eurasia, you seek shelter for the night. You build a small, pathetic fire, but the fire will not deter the great cave lion. It is a beast that is 25% larger than any lion of today, a creature of immense and silent power, built to hunt the great mammoths and the woolly rhinos of the Ice Age. You do not hear it approach. It moves with a ghostly and impossible silence. The first and only sign you have is a low, rumbling growl that seems to come from the very earth beneath you, and then a great pale and furred shape emerges from the darkness, its eyes glowing like two cold and hungry moons. But the true icon of this age of fur and of fangs is the great saber-toothed cat, the Smilodon. Let us imagine you're in a quiet and grassy woodland in ancient California, and you see it. It is not a sleek and graceful cheetah. It is a muscular and powerful engine of pure destruction, built more like a bear than a cat, with a short, bobbed tail and immensely powerful forelimbs. And then there are the teeth. Two great 9-inch-long serrated canines that hang from its upper jaw like two beautiful and utterly lethal daggers of ivory. This is not a creature that bites and that holds. The Smilodon is an ambush predator. It uses its immense upper body strength to wrestle its prey to the ground, to pin it, and then, with a single precise and powerful bite, it drives those two, great teeth deep into the soft flesh of the throat, severing the windpipe and the major arteries in a single, devastating and final act. To face a Smilodon is to face a creature that is a living and breathing pair of shears, a walking guillotine that has been perfected by 1,000,000 years of evolution. You thought, perhaps, that you could escape all of this by taking to the water, a foolish and a fatal mistake. For the prehistoric oceans were an even more brutal and more unforgiving arena than the land. Let us place you on a small, crude and wooden raft in the warm, shallow seas of the late Jurassic. You are paddling, feeling a momentary sense of peace, and then a great dark shadow as large as a whale passes silently beneath you. You have met a Liopleurodon. It is a massive, short-necked pliosaur, an 80-foot-long underwater torpedo of pure muscle and of teeth. The attack is not subtle. It is a sudden and explosive eruption of pure and terrible power from the depths. The last thing you see is a set of jaws so large that they could swallow you whole without even having to chew. But the true and ultimate king of the prehistoric seas awaits you in the late Cretaceous. You are swimming now in the warm and shallow waters of the Western Interior Seaway. The water is calm, and then you see it. A 50-foot-long marine serpent with the head of a crocodile, a long and powerful finned body, and a second hidden set of teeth in the roof of its palate, designed to ensure that anything it catches can never, ever escape. This is a Mosasaurus. It is not a dinosaur. It is a great and ancient marine lizard, and it is the absolute and undisputed apex predator of this entire global ocean. It does not fear you. It does not even see you as a threat. It is curious. It circles you. Its great and intelligent reptilian eye watching you with a cold and ancient amusement. And then, when it is done with its game, it strikes. There is no hope. There is no escape. On this prehistoric world, you are not the hunter. You are not even a worthy opponent. You are the appetizer. There is no top of the food chain for you to climb. You are the bottom rung, a soft, slow, and clumsy creature with no natural weapons and no useful instincts. On the land, in the air, and in the sea, something bigger, something faster, something stronger, and something hungrier than you can possibly imagine is always watching and is always, always waiting. You've survived for now. Through some statistical miracle, you haven't been incinerated by a firestorm, frozen into a human popsicle, or become a light snack for a pack of hyper-intelligent feathered killing machines. You might even be learning. You've learned to fear the sound of a heavy footstep, to scan the horizon for the sharp, hungry glint in a predator's eye, and to treat every rustle in the undergrowth as a potential death sentence. You see a large creature in the distance, a lumbering, plant-eating giant, and for the first time a wave of profound and foolish relief washes over you. It's a herbivore, you think. It won't eat me. And you are right. It won't eat you. It will, however, kill you. And it will do so without a single predatory thought, without a shred of malice, and probably without even noticing. Welcome to the next, and perhaps most insulting lesson of the prehistoric world. It's not just the creatures that want to kill you that are deadly. The ones that don't even care you exist are just as dangerous. Let us place you in a lush Cretaceous floodplain. You see a herd of Triceratops. You have seen pictures of these creatures, and they seem almost noble, like great three-horned reptilian cattle. They are moving slowly, peacefully, ripping great mouthfuls of tough cycads from the ground. They seem placid, almost lazy. You decide to get a closer look, a fatal and classic tourist mistake. You don't understand the psychology of a multi-ton herbivore. The Triceratops is not a cow. It is a 10-ton, walking battering ram with the nervous and unpredictable temperament of a black rhinoceros. Its great bony frill is not just for show, it is a solid shield of bone, and its 3 magnificent horns are not for decoration. They are 3-foot-long daggers of solid keratin, designed to puncture the hide and shatter the bones of a Tyrannosaurus rex. And you, a soft, slow, and unfamiliar-smelling creature, have just wandered into its personal space. You don't even have time to register your mistake. One of the great beasts lifts its head, its small, dark, and unintelligent eyes fixing on you for a fraction of a second. It doesn't see you as a threat. It sees you as an anomaly, an unwelcome and irritating surprise. It gives a loud, wet snort, a sound like a great and angry bellows, and it begins to charge. You are not fast enough. You are not strong enough. The last thing you experience is the unstoppable, freight train-like impact of a living mountain of muscle and of bone, and the sharp, piercing finality of a horn that was designed to fight a tyrant king. The herd moves on, barely noticing the small red stain that is now left on the prehistoric grass. Or perhaps you encounter a stegosaurus in a quiet Jurassic glade. It is a creature of such strange and alien beauty that it almost looks peaceful. The great, kite-shaped plates along its back, blushing with colour, are a magnificent and hypnotic sight. Its head is ridiculously small, its brain no bigger than a nut. It seems slow, stupid, and harmless, and it would be, were it not for the business end of its tail. That is the Thagomizer, a brutal and semi-autonomous weapon of 4 great 3-foot-long bony spikes. You keep your distance, you are learning, but you fail to account for the creature's twitchy and unpredictable nature. It swings its great tail, not at you, but perhaps at an annoying fly, or in a simple, thoughtless, stretching motion. The movement is a swift and powerful horizontal arc of pure destructive power. The great spikes, moving with the force of a medieval mace, catch you in the side, and your brief and pointless journey in the prehistoric world is brought to a sudden, messy, and entirely accidental end. The Stegosaurus continues to chew its mouthful of ferns, completely and utterly oblivious to your existence and its abrupt termination. Let us now leave the age of dinosaurs. The world has grown colder, the giants are now covered in a thick and shaggy coat of fur, but they are no less dangerous. You are in a cold, windy and grassy steppe. You see a small herd of woolly mammoths. Their great curved tusks are a beautiful and awe-inspiring sight. You decide to hide, to wait for them to pass, but the wind shifts, and the great matriarch of the herd catches your strange, unfamiliar and modern scent. She doesn't know what you are, but her instincts, honed by a million years of protecting her young from saber-toothed cats and cave lions, tell her that you are a potential threat. She lifts her great head, her ears flare out, and she lets out a deep trumpeting blast that shakes the very air. And then the whole herd begins to stampede, not towards you, but simply away from you. And you just happen to be in their path. The experience is one of being run over, not by a single animal, but by an entire living, thundering avalanche of fur, of muscle, and of blind, panicked power. But even the mammoth is a predictable danger. Let us now face the true, secret, and most terrifying of the prehistoric herbivores, the giant ground sloth. You are in the scrublands of ancient South America, and you see it, a megatherium. It is a creature that is the size of a modern elephant, but it is a sloth. It moves with a slow, gentle, and almost comical shuffling gait. It is a peaceful plant-eater, its diet consisting of leaves and of twigs. It seems as gentle and as harmless as a giant, furry, and slightly dopey teddy bear. You feel a sense of relief, even a strange and misplaced affection for this slow and gentle giant. And then you startle it. Perhaps you step on a dry twig, a sound that is too sharp and too close. The great beast stops its slow and placid chewing, and it rises. It rises up on its great, powerful hind legs until it is a towering and terrifying figure, twice your height, its great and shaggy arms held out to its sides. And it is at this moment that you see its claws. They are not the small, gentle claws of a modern sloth. They are immense, scythe-like and 18-inch long talons of bone, as sharp and as deadly as the claws of any predator. They are not designed for hunting, but for defence, and for stripping the bark from trees. And as you stand there, frozen in a state of a new and profound terror, the great beast swipes, a slow but immensely powerful defensive gesture, a simple, reflexive act to ward off a perceived threat, and the great scythe-like claws do their work. The gentle giant, in its quiet and simple terror, has just disemboweled you by accident. But the true alien horror of the prehistoric world is not in the age of the dinosaurs or of the great and furry mammals. For that, we must travel back further still, to a time when the giants of the world were not vertebrates but were insects. Let us go back to the Carboniferous period, to a hot, humid and swampy world of colossal primitive forests. The air here, as we have learned, is thick with oxygen, and this has allowed the world of the arthropods to evolve into a realm of living and breathing nightmares. You're walking through a great swampy forest of tree ferns and of scale trees, and you hear a sound above you, a loud, deep and rhythmic buzzing thrum, like a great and faulty electrical generator. You look up, and you see a dragonfly. But it is a dragonfly with the wingspan of a modern eagle, a great and terrifying creature of nearly 3 feet across, its iridescent wings beating the thick, heavy air. This is a Meganeura. It is an active and voracious predator, and while you may be too large for it to eat, the sheer, alien, and psychological horror of being buzzed by a dragonfly the size of a great horned owl would be enough to shatter your modern and fragile sanity. And as you stand there, staring up in a state of horrified paralysis, you feel something moving at your feet. You look down, and it is a millipede. But it is a millipede that is over 6 feet long, its segmented, armoured body as thick as your own leg. This is an Arthroplura, a giant and scuttling horror that is moving through the damp and rotting undergrowth of the forest floor. You do not know if it is venomous. You do not know if it is a carnivore, and you have no intention of waiting to find out. In the prehistoric world, it is not just the creatures that are actively trying to eat you that will be the end of you. The world is filled with giants, giants of every shape, of every size, and of every temperament. And in a world of giants, a small and fragile and insignificant creature like you is a temporary and easily broken thing. You will not be hunted. You will simply be removed. An obstacle that is trampled, a surprise that is swatted, an insignificant and crunchy annoyance that is accidentally stepped on by a creature that will not even register your brief and pathetic existence. You have, by some impossible fluke of cosmic luck, survived the megafauna. You weren't trampled by a triceratops, you weren't swatted by a stegosaurus, and you weren't accidentally crushed by a slumbering ground sloth. You have learned a crucial lesson. In this world, size is a weapon, and you are laughably, pitifully small. You've adapted. You now move with a new kind of quiet, paranoid caution, your eyes constantly scanning the horizon, your ears straining for the sound of a heavy footstep. You have learned to fear the giants, and now, exhausted, dehydrated, and starving, you stumble into a quiet, beautiful, and sun-dappled clearing. It is a vision of paradise. A small, crystal-clear stream bubbles and gurgles over smooth grey stones. The water looks so pure, so clean, you can see every pebble on the bottom. Brightly coloured berries hang in heavy, luscious-looking clusters from strange green bushes, and in the dappled shade of the colossal ferns, a host of the most beautiful and exotic-looking mushrooms sprout from the damp earth, their caps a vibrant and inviting palette of reds, purples and blues. For the first time since you arrived in this terrible and brutal world, you feel a sense of hope. Here is water, here is food, here is a place of peace. This is not a Garden of Eden. It is a beautifully decorated and meticulously baited death trap, and you are about to spring it. Your most immediate and most desperate need is water. You crawl to the edge of the small bubbling stream, and you plunge your face into the cool, clear water, gulping it down in great, greedy mouthfuls. It is the most delicious and refreshing thing you have ever tasted. It is also the last delicious thing you will ever taste. For what your modern and sanitized eyes see as pure, clean water is, in reality, a teeming, microscopic and primordial soup of the most virulent and unfamiliar life forms. You have spent your entire life in a world that has been scrubbed clean, a world of chlorinated water, of pasteurized milk, and of antibacterial soap. Your immune system is a spoiled and sheltered child that has never had to face a real and serious threat. and you have just introduced it to a street gang of the most ancient and most hardened criminals in the history of life on Earth. Every drop of this water is alive with 1 billion ancient bacteria, with strange and aggressive viruses, and with the eggs of 1,000 different and horrifying parasites for which your body has no name, no memory, and absolutely no defense. The effect is not immediate. You feel refreshed. You feel alive. You feel as though you have cheated death. And then, a few hours later, the war begins. It is not a war that is fought with teeth and with claw. It is a silent and invisible war, and it is taking place inside your own, betraying body. It starts with a deep and unsettling cramp in your gut. Then comes the fever, a sudden and raging fire that seems to be boiling you from the inside out. You begin to shiver uncontrollably, even as sweat pours from your body, and then comes the violent and unstoppable purging as your body desperately and pathetically tries to expel the alien invaders. There is no medicine here. There are no rehydration salts, no clean water to replace the fluids you're losing, no gentle hand to cool your feverish brow. You're alone, curled up in a ball of pure and simple agony in the dirt, your body a battlefield in a war that it has already lost. You become delirious, your mind a swirling and nightmarish collage of the strange green world around you. And in the end, you do not die a great and heroic death. You die a small, pathetic and deeply undignified one. A quiet and miserable end in a beautiful and sunlit glade. A final and forgotten casualty of a single foolish and thirsty mistake. But let us rewind that tragic and predictable scene. You are smarter now. You remember some half-forgotten advice from a survival show, and you know not to drink the water. But you are starving. The hunger is a hollow, aching thing in your belly. And all around you is a feast of the most beautiful and inviting colours. Those bright red berries hanging in such abundance look so much like the berries from your own time. Surely they are safe. You pluck a handful, their skin smooth and plump under your fingers, and you eat them. They are sweet at first, and for a moment you feel a surge of triumphant joy. You have found food, you have survived, and then a strange metallic taste begins to fill your mouth. A peculiar numbness begins to tingle in your lips and in your fingertips. The beautiful green and sun-dappled world around you begins to blur at the edges, its colours becoming too bright, too vibrant. The beautiful and hypnotic hum of the giant insects now sounds like a loud and discordant roar in your ears. You have just ingested a powerful and fast-acting neurotoxin, a chemical defence that this plant has spent 1 million years of evolution perfecting to protect itself from creatures far larger and far more formidable than you. Your modern and uneducated palate has no ability to detect the subtle bitterness of the alkaloids you have just consumed, and your body has no defence against them. You begin to lose control of your own muscles. Your legs tremble and then give way. You try to call out, but your tongue is a thick and useless thing in your mouth. Your vision tunnels, the bright and beautiful world shrinking to a single dark point. Your final sensation is of a quiet and gentle paralysis, as the muscles of your own chest forget how to breathe. You have been killed, silently and efficiently, by a handful of beautiful red berries. And it is not just the berries. Every single plant in this alien and ancient world is a potential poisoner. That luscious-looking, large-leafed green that resembles a familiar vegetable. It is full of microscopic, needle-like crystals of calcium oxalate that will shred the soft tissues of your mouth and your throat. That beautiful and inviting-looking mushroom, its cap a vibrant and otherworldly blue. Its toxins will dissolve your liver over the course of a few agonizing days. The beautiful and fragrant flowers that you might be tempted to smell are releasing a pollen so alien to your respiratory system that it could send you into a fatal and irreversible anaphylactic shock. This is not a garden. It is a chemical weapons factory, and you have just walked into it with the naive and foolish confidence of a child. And even if you avoid the plants, the water, and the fungi, the invisible war is still all around you. It is in the air, in the soil, on every surface you touch. You stumble and you cut your hand on a sharp rock. It is not a deep cut, a minor inconvenience in your own time, but here It is a death sentence. The rock is covered in a film of ancient and aggressive bacteria, and within hours the small cut is red, swollen, and hot to the touch. The infection spreads with a terrifying speed, a red line of poison crawling up your arm. The fever returns, this time with a deep and throbbing pain. Without antibiotics, without even the most basic of antiseptics, your body is a helpless and undefended fortress against this microscopic and relentless invasion. The world is a minefield of unseen and invisible killers. A simple, biting fly could be a carrier for a disease that would make malaria look like a common cold. The beautiful and iridescent beetle that you stop to admire could be secreting a powerful toxin from its joints. Even the thorns on the strange and beautiful plants are not just simple physical defences. They are often coated in a layer of irritating and poisonous sap. In the prehistoric world, the greatest and most certain of all threats are not the ones that you can see. They are the ones that are too small to see. You're a walking and talking buffet for 1 billion microscopic organisms that see your soft and unadapted body as a new and wonderful continent to be explored, to be colonised, and to be consumed. Your own body, with its sheltered and naive immune system, has become your own greatest and most treacherous enemy. You have, through a series of events that defy all known laws of probability, survived the planet itself and the great beasts that walk upon it. You have learned to fear the things that are larger than you, and you have learned to fear the things that are too small to see. You have developed a deep and profound paranoia, a constant, twitchy and all-encompassing awareness that is the only reason you are still breathing. And now you stumble into a world that will make you long for the simple, honest and straightforward terror of a Tyrannosaurus rex. You have arrived in the Carboniferous period, a time some 300 million years ago, and you have just stepped into a world that was not made for vertebrates. This world belongs to the bugs. Let us paint the scene. You're in a vast and swampy forest that covers an entire continent. But there are no flowers here, no birdsong, no familiar friendly trees. The air is thick, hot, and so humid that it feels like you're breathing hot soup. It is a world of a deep, murky, and perpetual green twilight. The canopy above you is a dense and tangled mess of colossal alien plant life. 100-foot-tall club mosses, their bark a strange, geometric, diamond-patterned skin, rise like scaly pillars into the gloom. Giant horsetails as thick as telephone poles create a dense and silent forest of segmented bamboo-like stalks. And everywhere there are ferns, colossal and intricate ferns that uncurl in a slow and silent primeval dance. The ground beneath your feet is a soft, spongy and treacherous carpet of moss and of rotting vegetation, and it is a carpet that is slowly and inexorably sinking into the black, stagnant and oxygen-starved water of the swamp below. The air has a smell that is both rich and deeply unsettling. It is the smell of 1 billion years of decay, of wet earth, of rot, and of a strange, sharp and almost electric ozone-like tang that comes from an atmosphere that is choked with nearly 35% oxygen. And then you hear it, a sound that does not belong. It is a deep, loud, and almost mechanical rhythmic buzzing. A sound like a small 2-stroke engine approaching from a distance. You look up, scanning the murky green canopy. The sound grows louder, closer, and then a great and terrible shadow passes over you. And a creature that your brain recognizes but your soul refuses to accept, lands on the trunk of a nearby scale tree. It is a dragonfly. But it is a dragonfly with a wingspan of nearly 3 feet, the size of a modern eagle. This is a meganeura, a magnificent and terrifying monster, a true apex predator of this aerial world. Its great, multifaceted eyes, each one a complex and beautiful mosaic of 1,000 individual lenses, watch the world with a cold and alien intelligence. Its serrated and powerful mandibles are designed to snatch and to shred its prey in midair. The sound of its great glassy wings beating the thick, heavy air is a deep and menacing thrum that vibrates in your very bones. You are for the moment too large to be its prey, But the sheer psychological horror of this creature, this perfect and beautiful nightmare, this living, breathing biplane of a bug, is a new and profound kind of terror. And as you stand there frozen, your neck craned upwards in a state of horrified awe, you feel a strange and deliberate movement at your feet. You look down, and moving with a slow, sinuous, and utterly relentless purpose through the damp leaf litter is a millipede. But it is a millipede that is nearly 8 feet long, its body a long and horrifyingly segmented tube of a dark chitinous armour, its dozens and dozens of small legs moving in a silent and hypnotic rolling wave. This is an Arthropleura, a giant of the forest floor, a creature that is more like a strange and armoured train than any insect you have ever known. You do not know if it is a harmless herbivore or if it is venomous, and as you look at its strange alien head, with its waving and inquisitive antennae, you realise that you have absolutely no desire to find out. You scramble backwards, away from the great and scuttling horror on the ground, and your hand brushes against the rough bark of a tree, and on that bark is a spider. Its body is the size of a human head, and its long, hairy and jointed legs are splayed out, covering an area as large as a dinner plate. This is the world you're in now. This is the new and terrible and buzzing, crawling and chittering reality. This is a world that has been made possible by the supercharged, oxygen-rich air. This atmosphere, which made you feel so dizzy and so strange upon your arrival, has allowed the simple, inefficient respiratory systems of the arthropods to grow to a scale that is the stuff of pure and absolute nightmare. This is their golden age, and you are a small, soft and trespassing mammal in a world that is ruled by the hard and unpitying logic of the exoskeleton. The prehistoric high-oxygen air, which fosters giant growth, also acts as a powerful accelerant. A dry lightning strike can instantly detonate the environment, creating a catastrophic white-hot explosion that spreads faster than a hurricane. This transforms the swampy world into an apocalyptic inferno, consuming everything, including the giant insects, as mere fuel. This ancient ecosystem is hostile, not just due to dangerous animals, but because the very air is a volatile fuel awaiting ignition. In the Carboniferous period, you are an insignificant anomaly in a world ruled by insects and an explosive atmosphere, where every moment reinforces your lack of belonging. You have by now a deep and personal appreciation for the many and varied ways the prehistoric world can kill you. You've been hunted by predators, trampled by giants, poisoned by the very plants you hope to eat, and swarmed by insects from a fever dream. You have learned a hard and brutal lesson. You do not belong here. But all of these threats, as terrible as they are local. They are personal. They are dangers you might, with some impossible and miraculous luck, be able to avoid. Now, however, you must face the greatest and most indiscriminate of all the prehistoric dangers. You must survive a mass extinction. Let us first travel back to the end of the Permian period, about 252 million years ago. The world is a strange and unfamiliar place, a world before the dinosaurs, populated by great mammal-like reptiles and strange, sprawling flora. But the planet itself is unwell. In the land that will one day be called Siberia, the Earth has split open. Great continent-sized fissures are pouring out a sea of molten lava, a flood of basalt that will continue, almost without pause, for 1 million years. This is the event that geologists call the Great Dying, and you are about to experience it firsthand. The first thing you notice is the sky. It is no longer blue. It is a permanent, sickly, brownish-yellow haze, a thick and toxic smog of volcanic ash and sulfur dioxide. The sun is a dim, weak and distant smudge, its life-giving warmth barely able to penetrate the gloom. And then the rain begins. But it is not the clean and life-giving rain of your own time. It is a black and corrosive acid rain that stings your skin and burns your eyes. It strips the leaves from the trees, and it turns the great oceans into a toxic and acidic soup. The air itself is becoming a poison. The immense and ongoing eruptions are pumping a catastrophic amount of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. You feel a constant nagging headache, a shortness of breath, a deep and profound weariness in your bones. You're slowly being suffocated by an entire planet that is exhaling a great and final poisonous breath. The plants around you begin to wither and to die, their leaves turning a pale and sickly brown before crumbling to dust. The great lumbering herbivores, their food source now gone, begin to starve. Their gaunt and dying forms a common and sorrowful sight on the barren landscape, and the predators who feed upon them soon follow. This is not a quick and violent apocalypse. It is a slow, grinding, and inexorable one. It is the entire intricate and beautiful web of life on planet Earth being slowly and systematically unravelled. It is the single greatest catastrophe that life on this planet has ever endured. 90% of all species on Earth will be wiped out in this great and terrible silence. You do not die a heroic death. You simply stop, your lungs unable to draw any more life from the toxic and dying air, and you lie down on a barren and ash-covered Earth, just another forgotten casualty of a planet that is in the process of resetting itself. Let us give you one more chance. We will now jump forward to the very end of the Cretaceous period, 66 million years ago. You're standing in a great, humid and vibrant forest of ferns and of conifers. A herd of triceratops is grazing peacefully in a nearby clearing. It is a world that is teeming with the magnificent and terrible life of the age of dinosaurs. But for the past several weeks, you and every other creature on the planet have been watching the night sky with a growing and unspoken sense of dread. For there is a new star in the heavens, a star that is not on any of the familiar ancient maps, and every single night this new star has grown a little brighter, a little larger. It is no longer a point of light. It is a small and ominous disk. It is an asteroid, 6 miles wide, and it is on a direct and final collision course with the Earth. The final moment comes with a light that is brighter than 1,000 suns, a silent and impossible flash that vaporizes an entire ocean and a continent in a fraction of a second. Even though you are thousands of miles away from the impact site in the Gulf of Mexico, the immediate effect is absolute. The ground heaves with the force of 1,000,000 earthquakes. A concussion wave of superheated air, moving faster than the speed of sound, flattens the entire forest around you as if it were a field of dry grass. And then comes the rain. It is not a rain of water, but a rain of fire. The billions of tons of molten rock that were thrown up into space by the impact now begin to fall back to Earth, heating the upper atmosphere to the temperature of a pizza oven. The entire sky is on fire. Any living thing that is not in a deep cave or in the deep ocean is simply cooked alive. But even if you were to survive this, the worst is yet to come. The immense cloud of ash, of soot, and of dust from the impact is thrown up into the stratosphere, and it spreads, creating a thick and impenetrable blanket that shrouds the entire planet. The sun is blocked out. A deep, dark, and freezing twilight falls over the entire world, an impact winter that will last for years. The plants, unable to photosynthesize, die. The great herbivores, their food source gone, starve. And the great predators, including the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, their prey now gone, follow them into a final and absolute extinction. You would not die in the initial fiery blast. You would die a slow, cold, and pathetic death, freezing and starving in the eternal silent darkness of a world whose great and magnificent story has just been brought to a sudden and catastrophic end. So, could you have lasted a day? The answer is an absolute and undeniable no. You have spent this journey being burned, frozen, suffocated, trampled, swarmed, poisoned, and hunted. The very air was a volatile poison. The ground was an unstable and violent stage. The water was a soup of invisible killers, and everything from the smallest, most horrifying insect to the largest and most magnificent predator saw you as either an obstacle or an easy meal. You are an evolutionary misfit, a creature that is perfectly and beautifully adapted to a world of central heating, of grocery stores and of antibiotics, a world of almost unimaginable safety and of stability. The prehistoric world is a magnificent and awe-inspiring spectacle to view from the absolute safety of the present, a beautiful and terrifying museum that we can visit from behind the thick and unbreakable glass of deep time. It was a world of giants and of monsters, a planet of raw, untamed and unimaginable power. But it was beautiful, and it was utterly and completely lethal, and it was never ever a world that was meant for us.